Good evening, everyone. Apologies that we are a little bit late. I've been running around and we have a run-in.
Wow. Hey,
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Perfect timing. I was just about to start doing another reaction.
Oh, really? Which one? What for?
It's the part two to the Buddhist expansion. I've been
Okay.
putting it off for a while just because I've been going through some personal stuff, but we're back on it. Uh, I know people have been wanting a part two to that.
That's good. That's good. I suppose things take priority sometimes, and um, if life happens, unfortunately, life has to happen, and everything kind of
Hey,
happens.
you already know life's been happening, so
Hmm.
it's not been the best, but it has been an experience. So we're getting back into the more pleasant times of life. So I'm gonna try to, it's Christmas time coming around. It's almost my birthday. We're road to 1K. So we're
How far are you off?
uh I'm what 84 steps away.
Oh, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing. By Christmas, then for sure, for sure.
yeah. Hey, let's get it.
Right. So we haven't been here for a couple of weeks. Things have happened. Obviously, more notably, War Games yesterday.
Yes,
Uh,
I did watch War Games yesterday.
um, I did actually enjoy it. To be fair, I felt a little bit sorry for the matches in the middle um, because to be in the middle of the two matches that people are wanting to see is a tough feat, but I think they did fairly well. I am going to run
They
through
threw
it.
in they did throw in a surprise or two for those middle matches. So
Yeah, yeah, they actually did really well. I think I'm going to do a plot twist completely, and start with that. Um, so yeah, I was looking forward to this one. It's my favourite kind of stipulation that WWE have. I think it's the one that a lot of the other ones, like Hell in a Cell, like Steel Cage, they've become kind of normal. It
yeah,
doesn't get people excited really anymore just to watch that stipulation. But I think War Games is one of the only ones that they still have that people are excited because of the stipulation rather than who's in the match.
yeah,
Um, so I think it's one that I really look forward to every year. I do feel a little bit bad for NXT because had it been not for NXT doing the War Games, WWE wouldn't have been doing them. They kind of saw the success that it was having with NXT and kind of stole it from them, but we won't go there.
Hey, it's like a developmental. They developed it, and then WWE took it over.
I do think it would be cool one day to have like a WWE versus NXT in a War Games, both for men's and women's. Hi, Eddie James.
Hey, Eddie, what's going on?
I
Uh,
think that's a new name in the chat. So good to have you.
Shout outs
Uh,
to Eddie.
in whenever you would like to or not.
I just feel like for this type of match, like I do enjoy this. I think it's because it's been less saturated. Like they
Mhm.
haven't been showing it for 20 years on pay-per-views, so it still has that like fresh excitement to it.
Yeah,
Kind of like when they brought out Elimination Chamber for the first time. Like, you know, now it's like, okay, we've seen, some of the best and we've seen some of the worst. But right now we're in that middle ground of like with War Games where like, unless you're somebody who remembers the 1980s versions, with Dusty Rhodes and everybody and WCW and the NWA back then this is fresh and exciting. Uh they pulled off a couple of spots in both of them that I enjoyed. Uh I mean, there's a couple of criticisms, but I don't think people are going to really, you know, be too upset about those for a little while.
For once, I tried to, as I was reading back about it, obviously after watching it, those people did pick up the criticisms, but I tried to avoid them putting into my notes and stuff, because you know that I have lots of criticism of Raw and SmackDown and AEW at times. So I tried to be good this time and keep them out of my notes.
I would say my only real criticism is that for matches like this, and it's not even just this match, it's matches that are in the same vein. Like, I wish they would utilize both rings a little bit more, but also, like, there's a lot going on and the cameras aren't always picking it up. So what they usually do is, instead of a lot going on at once, they'll just have people just knocked out on the sides. And then it's kind of like one person's turn at a time, so they can get all the spotlight. That way they can also capture the faces of the people who are still in the cages. And then, they want to move back into the ring, and you don't want to have like 5 people doing moves during that time. So might as well have 4 people laid out and 2 people actually doing moves, which for me is like, you're underutilizing the crew at this point, because they could be doing things. It's just hard to capture it, which almost is like a backfire of these types of matches. And it's just because there's so much going on in so much space. If everything was going on in one specific place, it'd be easier. Like a Royal Rumble match is slightly easier because you can still have multiple people doing moves because they're all focused on one ring, and they're not really panning the camera out to the any other parts until somebody comes out. That's like the one moment where it's like 30 seconds of camera not directly at the ring.
They could even, as I think about this now, they could even like find a clever way of splitting what we see on the screen and having kind of both rings in shot the whole time, if they could do that. Because obviously it's kind of, I think they work on the fact that they're only going to have one spot. So a lot of the time, the other people aren't really doing much, or just kind of lying down and like kind of covering.
I think back in the day, they just used to focus on like a sky cam, so they could just get the whole match, versus like now this is a lot more like individual shot cameras that are trying to get like the wrestlers and their faces and stuff. And that like it takes away from the whole picture. But I wish I want to know what it would be like live, I guess. I'm sure that would be a different experience.
Yeah, because I think the way in which they film it, they very much rely on individual spots. So it's kind of choreographed to the point that, right, so from now at some stage, you'll get on the top of the cage and go for a table. But in essence, I kind of think you're missing the whole idea of both rings and everything going on everywhere. So I think they could look at a clever way, like I say, of kind of putting both rings in shot somehow, maybe splitting the screen some way that's not obvious. Or
it's kind of supposed to be wild and unruly, right? Like, it's supposed to be a lot going on, and let's be chaos.
That was how the NXT ones used to be. I remember. I'll try and dig some of them out and send you them. Send you them.
I have to watch one of those one day.
They are incredible. They're the reason why WWE made War Games. It was obviously an NXT thing, and WWE didn't even touch it as such. So it was down to those matches that they had that it's now a pay-per-view. So first up, as always, we start with the women's War Games. So obviously we know that it was Team Rhea versus Team Liv. I found it a little bit weird that they promoted it as that, because you only found out that Rhea was coming into the fold like last week on Raw, I think. So like I don't know what they would have called it before. It would have been like Team, I don't know. So obviously that was made up of Naomi, Bayley, Bianca, Io Sky, and Rhea Ripley, teaming up against Team Liv, which was Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Candice LeRae, and Tiffany Stratton. So Bayley and Nia started off the match with Naomi coming in for the advantage. Then after that, the order went Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky, Raquel Rodriguez, Rhea Ripley, and Liv Morgan. I do think, I don't know about you, I do think they could change the rules a little bit in terms of how long it takes for everyone to get into the ring, because you spend like half an hour getting everybody into the ring before the match starts, which in turn only ends up that you get like 15, 20 minutes of the match actually happening. So I think they could make that a way to trim that down so you've got a longer run time of the actual match, because it's kind of like it. I guess it kind of builds up the story, but then a lot of the time it's just like pointless weapon shots and stuff. It's not really anything of importance. So I do think they could change that a little bit. I don't know about you. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it was like, I think my only thing was I didn't like the one fall. I didn't like the one fall count, like, to win it. It felt like you should eliminate the team, but I was told that what is the other one? AEW already does that in their version of this match.
Yeah, in Blood and Guts, it's good. They call it.
So it kind of is like, dang, well, AEW kind of took the better version of how I would try to do this match. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, the match itself, I think it's a great concept. Again, I just wish they would kind of do a little bit more with both rings. It just feels like when you have both rings there, you should be trying to do spots like, I don't know, jump in from one ring into the other, or like, I guess they don't have Ricochet anymore, but like, maybe like go from like one post and try to jump into the other ring for some reason, to slam on somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think there's a heavy reliance on that middle part between the two rings as well. I don't think they should use that as much because it's a tiny space. So you can't do a great deal. So, yeah. There's some things. I think, though, I think what WWE do really well is keep all those people, the 5v5 in the ring, because the more you eliminate people, the less people you've got in there, the more bare the ring looks, the less spots you can do. So I do think there is benefits and drawbacks to each, but I do think overall WWE's version does run better, just because if you've got two rings, you don't want like two people in the two rings, if that makes sense.
I got one idea. Extend the cage. So it's like the Hell in a Cell cage. So it comes around. That way they get to do the outside the ring shit while still being inside the cage. And it's still the War Games. That way you don't have to have them like, oh, they can't step back out for more weapons. Like, no, all the weapons are already going to be in the cage.
Yeah,
I think bring out all the toilet bowls you want.
I do think they should scrap that rule of if they leave the cage, the team forfeits. Like, because then you just rely on people bringing in weapons when they enter. But actually, at some stage, you might think, do you know what? Like, a table spot would be good now, but we haven't got a table in the ring, therefore we can't do it if we leave.
That kind of does take up a lot of time, though. Like last night, I saw people going from like, they all started off trying to grab something from like the one side of the ring, and then eventually like Io Sky, like she had to like go all the way to the other side to grab something. And it's like, okay, how long is this gonna take? Like, where's this trash can? I mean, I guess she was looking for a spot with the trash can, but it was like, all right, guys, how long is this gonna take? We all doing this trash can thing, but like hers had a rope on it, so I guess it made more sense. I just thought it was funny. It took a long time.
Yeah, I think they could, like I say, do more in that, bringing that like runtime down, because in both matches it takes like 30 minutes to get all like everybody in the ring. So actually that time could be better spent, I think, doing some crazy stuff. Like, I know you have to like people come in one by one, but instead of like 2 minutes till the next person come in, take it down to a minute or something. Like, there's ways to shorten it that would make it better to watch, I think, for the fans.
Or have like make it a time like you have to get inside of the ring within the next 30 seconds or something. I don't want to see them spending 2 minutes trying to find a good weapon that they were looking for on the outside,
Or like Liv Morgan going back as if she's going back and leaving the arena. And just coming out with Yeah, coming out of the back. So,
I was literally sitting there live, like, where is she going? What is happening right now? Do they just forfeit?
I don't think the commentators were in on it either, because they were kind of like,
Yeah.
well, what's she doing? Like, is she leaving?
My favorite commentator moment, they brought out the toilet lid. And first of all, I was like, why is there a toilet lid under the ring? This makes no sense. And Michael Cole's like, I wish they would have had this when Rikishi was back wrestling. And then I think she gets like, I think they gave like Nia Jax a stink face from somebody.
Yeah,
I was like,
they end up putting the toilet, but like the toilet seat around the head, don't they? And just like Naomi doing a little, whatever you would call that.
And I'm just like, why you randomly calling out Rikishi for no reason? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
This is the Michael Cole we get when Vince isn't yelling in his ear all day.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So the match start was normal. During that time before the match like kicked off officially, it was a sequence of weapon shots to keep everybody engaged. The strangest being the toilet seat. I did put that in my notes. Because I'm always going on at them to like be more inventive with weapons and stuff. I'm not quite sure this is what I asked.
No. See, it just makes no sense of something that would be underneath a ring. Like, everything else at least makes some sense. Like a toolbox, it makes sense. But like, randomly, just a toilet. Why was there a toilet lid just underneath the ring? That doesn't make any sense.
Like I say, I know I asked for different weapons because we see all the same, but I'm not really sure what damage you can do to someone else with a toilet seat. And as it's shown,
I mean, they are pretty heavy. They do hurt if you ever get hit with one.
Yeah, I do think that if it went through, obviously they don't do headshots with weapons anymore, but I do think it would be quite cool if it was just put through somebody's head. But I don't
bring back the stop sign.
CTE and stuff and all that sort of thing. It wouldn't really condone that sort of stuff.
We need more of those stop signs.
Yeah. The other cool spot was Io Sky, as she always does. It's a weird one because this is kind of a criticism, because Io Sky has been in every single War Games on the WWE side.
I heard.
And every time pretty much I think she does the same thing where she goes to the top of the cage, puts the like bin over her head. I'm pretty sure I've seen it so many times before, so it's kind of like, oh yeah, that is great, but when you've seen something before, it's not as exciting as the first time you see it.
I called it the trash can Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, it was like a leap of faith, wasn't it? Almost.
Yeah. It was fun. It was my first time watching it. I thought it was fun to watch for the first time.
I still do think it is impressive. I'm just pretty sure that I've seen it before in a War Games from her as well. So, yeah, that was cool. Obviously, it relies heavily on the people being there.
Yeah,
I can't imagine how scary that must be. Stood at the top of that cage, not able to see absolutely anything, and just hoping that everyone is where you jump. Like,
now,
must be so
I do hate the spots where people just crowd up just to catch somebody. It just feels like so unrealistic. But there's going to be another example of it later in the men's match. In this one, I can't even hate on it because I hate the one in the men's match so much.
Yeah, it's certainly trusting of the other people that you're working with for sure.
Yeah, very much trusting. I actually did like the spot. The trash can with the rope on it. I've never seen that before, so that was interesting. No. I was like, "Whoa! What they added a rope to it? Like, when did they start doing that?"
So inventive, like
you always want new things. This is what you got. What you asked for. A new item underneath the ring, a rope trash can.
Yeah, So obviously that was those were the two kind of standout. Well, that was the standout moment, and then the introduction of the toilet seat was the other. But obviously, like we alluded to, when it was Liv's turn to enter the ring, she came in last. Rhea was kind of stood there with that like mask on, which was frightening, to be fair. Props to WWE on that, because like it was frightening when she came in. So she's kind of standing in the middle of one of the rings, kind of ushering her in. Liv looks absolutely frightened to death, which was so funny, because I'm thinking, really? Like, but to be fair, I suppose it fits into the story, because the only time she kind of attacks her is from behind, like blindly, rather than going in.
It makes
So
sense to her to be afraid of her.
yeah. Oh, to be honest, I don't know who wouldn't be afraid of her. Like, yeah, it's not certainly one of the people that I'd want to be anywhere with, to be honest.
I mean, if we talk about Rhea, then I don't know. I'd face the fear. I'd be around her.
Yeah, there is that. But if she had any say in what happens, I don't think I'd fancy it, to be fair.
She'd have me shaken, but not from fear.
That would be, yeah, you would never be the same again after that. So yeah, so she's actually looking really frightened. She then Rhea's kind of ushering into the ring.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. I lost my use of English there. So it then kind of looks like that she was going to leave the arena. And instead, for dramatic pause, she stayed there for a little bit, for a couple of seconds, so people actually believed she was going to leave. And then out she comes with a baseball bat to take the ring with her, which still, if I'd have put Liv with a baseball bat and Rhea, and I'd have chosen my winner, I would have still chosen Rhea even with a baseball bat. So after that, she got into the ring, and with the help of her team, they kind of held Rhea back so that Liv could hit her many times with the bat in various poses. The match kind of went on for a bit after that, with no real noticeable massive things apart from the end. So the match finished with Rhea delivering a riptide from the top rope through the table, which is a really cool spot, actually. I felt it was a little bit of an anticlimactic ending, to be fair. I think they could have done a lot more with the Liv and Rhea sort of stuff that they've been building up. They kind of took the easy way out, in that Liv just hit her with a baseball bat and then Rhea put her through a table. I think they could have done a lot more with that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I did enjoy it. It was okay. I don't think it was as good as the previous years, because the previous years that I've watched it, I've always gone, well, actually, the men's one is really going to have to be incredible to live up to that normally. But I do think that this paved the way. Although it was good, I do think it did pave the way for the men's to be a lot better, because it was okay, but nothing of massive excitement, really. I think it was relied on kind of individual moments and individual performances in the match as a whole. I've seen a lot of criticisms of Nia Jax. I didn't really read much into it. I don't really tend to focus down on it.
I think the Nia Jax criticism, I think we all know where a lot of it stems from.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be honest, when I watch her matches, they're never the worst matches of the night. Like, even when you compare them to like the men's matches and women's matches and everything, like, she does put on good matches from what I've seen in the, I would say, the last like year. I would say she hasn't put on like I wouldn't say they're all like incredible, but they're never like terrible. They're always like, okay.
I'm not a huge fan of her, and I've been vocal on that, but she does the job very well. She's in there to be this just brute of a wrestler that kind of takes people out. So in essence, she does her story well.
It's almost like a female Big Show. Like,
yeah, you can't expect. I think people expect a lot of her. Somebody of that size isn't going to be as athletic as people might want to think. I think that's where the criticism comes from. Is that
I mean, the only thing she really can't do is get on the top rope fast.
Yeah,
I mean, she gets on the second rope and stuff, but it always takes like 2 minutes, and that might actually be like wrestling storytelling. Like, she might just be playing that up, like, oh, I'm getting up there. It's a lot of weight going up. Bam, I'm slamming it down. Because when you see her doing like one of those Samoan presses, like where she grabs him up on her shoulders and slams him down, she always does that very quickly. And like it looks very athletic when she does that, which makes me think I know she can get up on that rope faster. She just doesn't. And I think it's like part of like her, it's in-ring storytelling type of thing.
Yeah, like I say, I did enjoy it, and I don't tend to focus down on individual performances in matches like this. I go in it to watch the stipulation and everyone involved. I think you've got to be. I think you're just trying to be critical of people when you go into a match like this and pick on individual performances.
I was going to say, if there's an individual performance I would pick on, it would probably be like that one chick. I don't even know her name, but she kind of got in like second to last. She was wearing like all black, and she kind of brought in a table. She brought in like 2 tables. She took out 2 tables, brought in one, left the other one outside the ring for some reason, got in and did. I don't even think she brought in like an actual weapon with her. She just got in and immediately did no damage for real. And I felt like she was probably individually the person who got the least spotlight. Yeah. Which means she was like playing the side corner person the whole time. Like, I got beat up, I'm knocked out, I'm on the side. And then she waited for her one spot, got it, and then was back on the side the whole time. Outside of that, there's really no individual performances you can really point out in these type of matches that are everybody does their thing in their moment. I just hate that people have to wait for their moment to do things one at a time. Like it's like like one of those like 90s like action movies where like they only fight the guy one at a time, even though they're like 90 versus 1, like it's like that.
Yeah, I didn't even notice really that Raquel Rodriguez was in the match, not necessarily because she was awful, but because she didn't really have any say in it at all. There was.
Thank you for remembering her name. I did not remember her name.
Yeah, there was that moment, wasn't there, where both Liv and Nia were both on the floor, and somehow Tiffany Stratton just miraculously got her Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't know where that came from, or whether she took it in with her. I'm not sure. But yeah, that miraculously turned up, and she was kind of stood over them both. The commentators were like, "Is she going to cash in? I don't really know how this works, but she might cash in." But you knew the whole time, like.
I think that bit's been going on a little bit too long.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Let it go. Either win it already or don't. Like, I don't know. If you're gonna wait till WrestleMania, wait till WrestleMania. But if not, stop teasing us with it every pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's not. It was never going to work, was it? Because like the match involves no titles being changed. So, and there's one pinfall to win the whole thing. So if she was there to pinfall like one of them and get the 1, 2, 3, she would be the champion, but then no team would win. So like it would be so pointless.
I mean, you could just wait till after the match. That would make the most sense. Just beat whoever loses, just cash it in and pin them again.
Yeah.
Maybe your team will help you win. Like, fuck, they don't really have anything to lose.
No. Yeah, I like I say, I do kind of, although I've said I haven't put any like negative things in my notes, that is one of them, because you kind of know by now. The thing is, the idea of the Money in the Bank briefcase is that it could happen at any time, and it's going to be, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening now. Yeah. But if you give us it every single Raw or pay-per-view, it seems like now, it's not exciting anymore. that's the whole idea of the Money in the Bank briefcase, is that you can cash in at any time, and it's going to be, if you look at the best cash-ins, it's always been when you'd never expect it. So the fact that we expect it every time now, it's kind of making a little bit of a mockery of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I would kind of love to see like a brutal, like a fashion type of thing, like a faction, like where they like hold a guy down and beat him up with the briefcase, and then like the guy immediately cashes in at that moment and pins and win. Like straight up heels, just before the match, they just straight up jump him, beat him up, use the briefcase on him, and make sure that the person with the briefcase 100% wins. And then they become, but you would have to have like a heel person with it, which she would be,
Yeah.
if her and Nia Jax would just like, all right, we're heels, people hate us, whatever. We got a crew, frick it, we're just gonna beat up the current champ, and then you're gonna cash it in, and then we're gonna be champs together.
Yeah. I think they're making it really obvious, though, as well. They're making it really obvious that eventually she's going to try and take the title off Nia. It's so obvious as well at this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's like, just do it already. Like, are y'all saving this for WrestleMania? Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to see Tiffany and Nia Jax at WrestleMania. No. I've been saying this for months. I want to see Tiffany versus Rhea at WrestleMania. I think when you look at them from like the perspective of how they look, their attitudes, like their wrestling styles, they are very much opposites of one another.
Yeah.
And it works really good because even Rhea has this like goth look with tattoos and all this stuff, black hair. If you look at Tiffany, her and Rhea have a very similar body structure, and their
same
outfits,
height, roughly, I think, like
their outfits are almost the same. They put them in the exact same outfit. It's just Tiffany's outfit always looks less punk rock than, it looks like a more clean version of Rhea's outfit. And it's like, they're clearly like, they would work as a match. I would love to see it, especially as a big time match where it's like either she's using her Money in the Bank title to try to get it from Rhea, or they're both coming in there as like champions, or maybe Tiffany's the champion and Rhea's trying to get it from her. I think that'll be a way better main event for the women's title.
I do think there is a logic to that happening, because if Nia has a match against someone at Rumble rather than going into the Rumble, if Tiffany takes it off her, then uses that title, builds it up a little bit, and then that goes to WrestleMania.
You'd have enough time. Okay.
That's a timeline that could work. But yeah, I think even to the point that they're roughly, without looking into it, they're roughly like the same height and everything, really.
Yeah.
I
mean, clearly Tiffany's not as good of a wrestler, but it's not. I don't think it's to the point where they couldn't put on a good show together, because I don't think Liv Morgan's a particularly great wrestler.
No, I do think Tiffany coming up from NXT, she was a really good wrestler there. She has got really good wrestling skills.
Yeah.
But I do think people don't know that because she hasn't really wrestled since she's been in WWE. It's been more of she's had the odd match. She was in the Elimination Chamber, stuff like that, but she hasn't really been able to showcase, because most of the time she's been like a story arc more than actually a wrestler.
And honestly, she was good in the Elimination Chamber. I remember that.
Yeah, she's a really good wrestler, but like I say, she's been used in this whole storyline more than she has as kind of singles. So in the middle of the War Games, we had 3 matches. First, LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura dominated the early stages, but LA Knight took over and started to control the pace. It was difficult for this match to be right after the War Games matchup, because the crowd had kind of seen this kind of madness. So the excitement kind of saps for a little bit from the crowd.
But this one had the surprise for me of the night.
Yeah, it was, however, I enjoyed watching it. Both are great wrestlers, so they worked off each other really well, I thought.
Yeah.
I did see this happening, and I was hoping it was going to happen. because I don't think Nakamura can come in on the build up to it, take him out loads of times on the sly, and then go to the pay-per-view and lose. Like that doesn't work with the story really. So I did see this happening, and I'm really pleased that they have done it, because I think
just thought it was funny. Like after all the promos, I saw like 20 minutes of promos of LA Knight saying, "I'm a fighting champion. I will fight it. I'm not like Logan Paul. I'll fight any person here." And it's just like, ah, man, you just had to say that. That's like signing in. It's like in a movie where they're like, "I'll be right back," and then they never show back up. I'm the fighting champion. Oh, okay, you lose.
I do think it opens up a lot of matches as well. There is a lot of matches that I would like to see Nakamura in. I do think the time away has kind of built up an excitement around him again, because before he was in lots of matches and people kind of knew what was going to happen in those matches. He was quite a baby face. He was never really a heel. So actually coming in coming back and kind of becoming a heel now, we're kind of seeing a different side, which is really good. I don't think it was bad, the match, in any way. No. It's just hard to follow a War Games match when the whole pay-per-view is centered around the two.
I think it's difficult with all these matches that are centered around one specific match, and then they do it twice. Like if they would have done it, let's say they do it once at the end of the show, it's like, okay, every other match before then, it's like a normal match, and then you have this one specialty. But when you do it twice, I don't know, for me, it makes the middle matches feel a little bit boring, because it's like the women's one is always pretty decent, and then there's that 3 or 4 match streak where it's like, okay, I kind of blew my excitement out from that first one. And then the last one comes out, and then it's like, okay, I'm back hyped for this one. This is actually what I was waiting for the whole time. So
I think that
it's just a problem.
I think that even happens with the Rumble now. We've got both a men's and a women's one. Back when we just had the male one at the end of the show. That show before, all those matches before were able to be really enjoyable. But we saw this with, although all the 3 matches that were in the middle weren't bad matches at all.
No.
The crowd wasn't, you could hear it in the crowd that they weren't as up for the matches, because they'd kind of come down from a mad stipulation to just normal matches.
I don't know. It really does something to you. Like I remember watching it and being like, I'm getting a little bit sleepy at this point. Like it's just something about watching the first match, and it's like, this is a good match. It's kind of dragging, but it's part of what I'm here for. And then you're immediately going into something where it's like, I mean, I'm kind of here for it, but there's no stipulations. There's no real, like, there's a title involved, but even the people within it, it's like, these aren't like the big names, because the big names are all in the 2 other events that are happening later on. You know, it always makes it a little bit like, man, I wish they could have had more people to kind of like make a bigger name, even though these are 2 big names. I'm not going to say LA Knight isn't a big guy, or what is his name? I can't think of his name. Shinsuke. Yeah. Like great guys, good match. It was just, I think the timing was just a little bit off. Maybe have those matches first, but then I get like, you don't want to have a back-to-back, War Games match. That might also be too much for people. So it's just a little bit of a challenge. And I think this is why part of the reason they had Shinsuke win is because it does add a little bit of excitement to those middle matches. I didn't expect him to win. I saw it. I was like, whoa. I thought LA Knight was going to be a champ for like another couple of months here, at least to Mania. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was really pleased with that one, and I'll be real with everyone. In the middle of these War Games, I watched it this morning, and I saw the LA Knight and Shinsuke match in full. I fell to sleep for a little nap in the Bourne, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser match. And then had to go back and watch half of it later on. And I did exactly the same in the Gunther and Damian Priest match as well. Not because they were particularly bad,
Yeah.
just because it just felt in a weird place. So obviously that one was the first one. The Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser was the second. I really enjoyed this match, and I think outside of the 2 War Games matches, this was my favourite match on the card that wasn't a War Games match. It was kind of your classic triple threat, but obviously you had the no DQ and the no countouts, which I think really helped it. Each one of them kind of looked strong coming off it and going through it. Kind of technical wrestling was used rather than relying on weapons, which was really good because you kind of got weapon burnout from the first War Games and the last War Games. There was a cool spot where Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus were kind of stood by the announce table, and Braun Breaker was on the apron and kind of clotheslined them both over the back of the table. Obviously, no surprise that Braun retained. Sorry.
But shout outs to Ludwig Kaiser. I like that guy. I think he's a good wrestler. And I think what really got me liking him more was I played WWE 2K24 and I made like one of those My Faction teams, and he was one of the first people I got that was on my team. And I was like, yo, he might be a little under leveled, but this guy is like a beast for real. Like, I love his moveset and all this stuff. And then I started watching him more like in the actual ring, and I was like, oh, wait, this guy actually is a good wrestler too, like in real life. He's pretty good.
I'm really pleased that because obviously he's just been, again, a bit like Tiffany Stratton, just a story piece to obviously Gunther. So I'm actually really pleased that they're giving him this little push on his own away from that whole storyline. And it's certainly paying off for WWE as well.
If they still had cruiserweight titles, he'd be the champ.
Yeah. And I think Sheamus is kind of having a little story of his own. Obviously, he's been around the business for so long, but it kind of feels somewhat different to all his runs before. Because I know even like during when I was at school in kind of the Ruthless Aggression area, he was kind of more of a joke than an actual wrestler. Whereas since he's come back this time, he's actually not that anymore, which is really good.
Bro, when a couple of years ago, when I was like back when I was married, my brother-in-law, he was a kid. He used to love Sheamus, and I was like, of all wrestlers to like, this kid likes Sheamus. Like, I've never seen anybody with a Sheamus poster before. I was like, who likes Sheamus? You're not even like, you're American. You don't have like a reason to really like him. Like, you're not Irish. I mean, not enough. You're more like Slovakian. You're like, you should be liking different wrestlers. It's John Cena. Where's your John Cena poster? No, you got a Sheamus poster. I was like, wow, insane.
Yeah, why not though? Like, he clearly has like a big set of fans and always has, because
apparently I didn't know. I also thought it was a joke. I thought it was like remember Finley?
Yeah, he was with him, wasn't he? For a long time,
I thought it was more like that, where it's like, all right, I guess Irish representation in the more prejudiced way, but
I think it's more the fact that he's well respected. I think he's well respected for how long he's been in the business and how long he's been with WWE and stuff.
He's like William Regal now.
Yeah, for sure. We obviously then had the Gunther and Damian Priest match. Obviously, I was so excited for this match. As you know, I'm massive fans of both of them. It was, I don't know, it was okay. It was a very physical, as we kind of anticipated. The match was fought at quite a slow pace, so the crowd were kind of mute for the whole thing. It was longer than the other two matches. Like I said, I did fall to sleep during this one, and again, it was an okay match. There was nothing really stand out about it.
I will say I was watching this during this point of the event.
Mhm.
I was watching with a few people, and
Mhm.
we decided to watch it on the side and played Call of Duty in Zombies mode. So I was really heavy into Zombies mode during this point of the match. Now we did die and watch the full of next with the second War Games match. But I was half paying attention to this one, and the whole time I was just like, I only want Damian Priest to win. Like, he's been my favorite champion of the year. I said it already, but I'll say it again. I thought Damian Priest had some of the best matches as a champ since WrestleMania. I think he puts on a show every time, and I wish he was the champ again. I don't know.
I'm a little bit fatigued of seeing Gunther as a champion now, because he has fought everyone that is possible for him to fight that's not a complete mismatch. So I don't really know where they go from now, because
they can't give him all the opponents because the bloodline thing is still happening, and Cody's always involved in that.
I was hoping that was actually going to happen and that the title was going to change, but obviously it didn't. There was a kind of a little run in with Finn Balor, wasn't there? He came out and kind of distracted.
Again, I hate this whole Finn Balor thing. Like, stop bringing him out so much. Like, geez, I know he's doing his job well, but it's like, I can't stand to see this guy. Every time he comes out and interferes with a Damian Priest match, I'm like, bro, why? Like, at this point, do something else.
Yeah,
like, go mess with somebody else.
The story's run its course ages ago, so they're kind of dragging it out now, and everyone's like a little bit off.
Oh my god, I feel like that's what they're doing to every storyline so far.
Oh yeah, I think they are.
They're beating the dead horse until, like, I said it because I remember with the bloodline thing, I was like, they really just ran the bloodline until it stopped making sense, and then they kept running it again until it started making sense again.
Yeah,
and now it's almost gonna stop making sense in a moment. So
I think this would be a good time to cut losses on it and say you've done all you possibly can do now.
No, they're going to keep going with it right now.
I know they're going to keep going, but I do think that felt like quite a natural end.
Yeah,
the old bloodline.
Now it's like CM Punk's involved now, and it's like, why is CM Punk getting involved in this? Like,
I don't think if we go back, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this without looking into it, but I'm pretty sure there's never been a story arc that's lasted this long in the history of wrestling.
I mean, how long has it been already? Like 3 years?
Probably more than that. I think it's probably like 3 or 4, maybe pushing into like 4 or 5 soon.
I have to say, I give it another 4 years, honestly. Like, I give it at least 4 more years. We just got Trump back as president. I think he might like the storyline. So we get 4 more years.
Are we going to get to the point, though, where we've got like 6 iterations of the bloodline? So you've got like the new bloodline, the old bloodline, the old bloodline, the old bloodline. Like, are we going to keep going?
I was going to say, like, do they have more cousins?
Yeah.
Like, I want to see the point where they have like Solo's bloodline, Roman's bloodline, The Rock's bloodline. Maybe have like I know the one guy isn't even related to them, was like Braun. Like, he's not even related to them. Give him a bloodline for some reason and just be like, you know what, we're the off bloodline. We're not really related, but I'm like kind of cousins because we're all like Samoans. So like, even though I'm from Australia,
I've said it so many times. Are we ever going to get to the end of it? Like, I'm actually bored of saying I think they've done the course now. I think it's run its course. but now you've got that whole thing now of Paul Heyman's back and he owes CM Punk something, and
Yeah, that's why I was like the CM Punk favor. He's gonna get involved in this now.
Is Roman and CM Punk going to go at it? Like, you've got so many different things now, but that
How many
did feel
NWOs
like,
did they have?
yeah, that
Remember
did
when
feel
they
like
just
a good end though. Like,
Remember when
at
they
the
just
end,
had like way too many NWO groups?
yeah.
Yeah, this is what that's gonna be.
So we will finish off the video by talking about the main event. The War Games has gone on for longer than I've hoped, but I think that goes against that. I think that's good because it goes against me just kind of running through Raw and SmackDown that you've probably already seen and stuff. I know we didn't cover Full Gear, but that's gone into the abyss now. That was a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, we got to the main event. So I really enjoyed this one. It was definitely my favourite out of the two War Games matches. The order of entry was that Bronson Reed and Jimmy Uso started. They had the advantage, so Jacob came in next. Then it was Sami Zayn, then it was Tama Tonga, then it was CM Punk, then it was Solo, and then it was Roman to finish. So the advantage really showed in the period before the match started. On the third entry from the OG bloodline, Reigns stopped Punk from going in to let Sami go in instead, which kind of started the tension between the two. And then the next one, when it looked like Roman was going to enter, Punk kind of pushed him out of the way to get past him.
Yeah, I did kind of see that coming. That was a little bit. I will say Triple H is a little bit predictable in his booking.
It is, but I do think that still played its part. I do think that part was still good. Had that have not happened, you wouldn't know really where Roman and CM Punk were so pissed at each other, because we still don't know why they're pissed at each other. Like,
well, we're gonna find out now, aren't we? Yeah. Within these next few weeks, when CM Punk forms his own bloodline.
Yeah. He'll probably get, because obviously they asked Seth Rollins, didn't they? And he said no. So CM Punk will probably recruit him. So then they've got a reason to hate the OG bloodline. Yeah. I don't know. I hope not. So he came into the match. CM Punk came into the match with a toolkit.
Is that his new is that his new thing? Like, he's gonna have a toolkit every time?
I don't know. I think that was just a one-off thing. I do think it's quite cool. It's not something that's massively expected. So I do give them props on that one.
It could be like how Triple H had the sledgehammer.
Could be. I think it would just be kind of a one-off thing, to be honest. So when Solo entered the match, he kind of locked the cage with his own lock so that Roman could not enter. But obviously, even the commentators were like, "Oh my God, how is he going to get into the match?" I'm thinking, well, it's obvious. He's just going to climb in, isn't he? Like, how else are you going to get in?
No.
Like,
I remember having a conversation last night of like, imagine being like the wrestling fan that actually believes, like, how is he going to get in there now? Oh my gosh, the match can't end. Like, just imagine being that guy.
Start or end. Like, there's no way he's getting in.
And then I'm just like, I wonder if they're gonna have him break the chain because he's like Roman Reigns and he's like Superman and he's like invincible, or are they just gonna have him climb up? Obviously, he's gonna get in the ring. Like, this is
he's not going to stand outside and watch, is he?
Yeah,
like,
and they actually don't want you to get out the ring anyway. So I guess locking it is a good thing. Maybe you should just have him climb in. I don't know. Future notes.
Yeah, so he kind of blocked the cage so that apparently Roman could not enter. But obviously, when his time came, he just climbed up the side.
Yeah.
So as he gets to the top of the cage, although it was quite far-fetched, I did quite like this part, because if you think about it, if somebody's coming in and you're trying to stop him entering, you wouldn't go up one by one. You would like two of you go up, so you've got a better chance of stopping him getting in. So this bit was a little bit far fetched. So bear with me. So he kind of got to the top, and one by one they kind of climbed up. But he would kind of tickle them. He wouldn't even punch them.
Yeah, he would just kind of like slap them a little bit, knock them down.
And then these massive men just fall straight down.
Well, you gotta remember that Roman Reigns is so strong and powerful that even a small punch from him is like getting hit with like a gun or something. You know, it's like incredible.
So each of them kind of climbed up one by one, some being hit against the cage, some being like half punched and then them falling. So obviously he managed to get into the ring. He then they was all stood up by the time he got into the ring. And then he kind of took each one of them out one by one, which again was really far-fetched, because if you're thinking about it, if there's 5 of you, if you're rushing, but obviously it's for the greater good of the storyline, of course. So then after all that happened, they were kind of stood 5 versus 5 on either side of the ring. Roman and CM Punk were kind of having a little falling out. So then Paul Heyman came out, showed up as the kind of tensions arose and tried to keep them both on the same page. Somehow he said something, and then miraculously they didn't hate each other anymore, which is a bit weird. But we move on.
Wait, did we ever talk about where Roman jumped and all of them just caught him? They just stood there and caught Roman in the air when he jumped from the cage.
I don't know if I did. I see that bit.
I swear they all all 5 of them had I think it was when Roman was getting into the cage, and he was, he knocked them down one by one, and they all got up, and then they all stood up, and then Roman jumps, and then they all catch him coming in. I don't remember if it was at that point or if he went back up for another one. But at some point, they all 5 stood up, and it was just like how in the women's when Io Sky came down with the trash can. It was like that, but this one was way worse because they were all just literally just standing in there. There was no spot where it was it made sense for them to all be standing in there. It was, I think it was right after the Roman punching them all individually one by one thing, because I was like, is Roman just like a superhero now? Can he just do any and everything? It was just hilarious for I don't know. It was kind of funny at a point where it was like, dang, Roman. They all, how did you just manage to time that perfectly where they're all just standing there ready to catch you? Incredible.
Yeah. On the more serious note, though, then Bronson Reed actually got onto the top of the cage. So obviously, you're thinking this is really going to injure Roman if Bronson Reed. Yeah, if Bronson Reed comes off the top of the cage with the weight he is and how heavy he is, that is going to basically near enough kill Roman Reigns if he leaps from that high. So I was sat there hoping, I was going, right, yeah, please something happen. I thought he was going to move off, but then obviously CM Punk dragged him off, which kind of played into the story arc if that's where he kind of grew respect for CM Punk and stuff. But on the bad note, when you watched it, it was a little bit like when Edge injured himself in AEW off the cage, and he kind of fell feet first, didn't he, onto the table? And you could see that's obviously not how you're supposed to do it. So yeah, he certainly didn't land in the way that he'd hoped. I was reading, and it does look like he's injured, which is obviously not surprising. Because it's a long way to come down, and to put all your body weight on your feet, it's never going to end well. So obviously hoping and wishing for him to have a speedy recovery and hope that he's not out for long. But so there was that moment. CM Punk kind of dragged him off. That was the point that mutual respect happened between the two for the kind of story arc. There was a table spot where Jacob Fatu went through the table. I don't know if it was Jimmy or Jay that was on the top of the cage.
I think it was Jay.
Could have been. But on my time of notes, I didn't put who it was.
Wait, which one is No Yeet?
Jimmy, you say.
Okay, then it was him. He was the one. He was wearing like the black and the red.
Yeah,
I think he was the one that just came back. So I think he did it.
So there was that. And then after that table spot where Jacob Fatu was laying on that table for what seemed like an eternity, and you think to yourself, he's definitely going to be able to get up at this point. Like, he's laying there and kind of thinking, well, are you going to do the spot, or am I just going to be laying here forever? So after that happened, kind of Sami Zayn went and picked up CM Punk. Jimmy and Jay kind of picked each other up. Jimmy and Jay went and then picked up Roman, because obviously, because he's so big, you need two people to pick him up. So then somehow, by the magics of just wrestling, there was all five of them around Solo. Did think it was quite cool at the end when they did the finishing moves one by one. And every single time Solo managed to stay on his feet until the spear. I think that was quite an achievement to have a finishing move after finishing move and stay on your feet. I think that was immense, to be fair.
What happens when you get to practice with these guys for like 30 or 40 years, you know?
Yeah, growing up, they were doing those finishing moves when they were like
I'm about to say, I guarantee you there was at least one moment where somebody looked in Rikishi's backyard and the actual War Games was happening back there with all of those people except, you know, Bronson Reed. Like, actually, Bronson Reed may have been there. We don't even know. I don't even know if he is or isn't related to them yet.
Before they would like learn how to eat and tie up the shoelaces, they already knew how to wrestle.
Yeah, they were doing Hurricane Radas
from birth.
Yeah,
how they came out of the womb. So Roman hit Solo with a spear and picked up the win. There was kind of this dramatic part at the end where everyone was kind of fist bumping and hugging, and then Roman Reigns and CM Punk kind of stood face to face. Roman Reigns offered his hand and they kind of shook hands. I put all in all a very good pay-per-view. I enjoyed both War Games matches and one of the matches in the middle. It was certainly not going to go down as the best pay-per-view of the year, but it's not going to go down as the worst either. I think it'll go somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
That's it really. We have. Let me get my fancy banners up. Where are we? The floor is yours.
Hey, how are you doing, everybody? Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Only about 86 subs away from hitting that first 1,000 subs. We're on our way. We're trying to make it. You know, new content's coming out all the time. So be prepared for that. You never know who's gonna be on there, what's gonna be about. I might have Sam on here for a random video at any point. So just watch all the videos to see if Sam's in any of them. Sam, I'm gonna make it so you guest appear in every single one of my videos secretly. But you have to watch the videos to figure out which one I put him in. He doesn't even know.
No, I don't know. My face will just pop up at a random point in the middle of the video, just in a little
corner. You have to find the secret Sam.
You got to find me. In terms of our Instagram, that's there. Our Patreon's on the top right. I'm going to just randomly show Guna Gather in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that's your Patreon, but Guna
No,
Gather, shout out to him.
Patreon is on the top right, and then I'll put it here as well. That's my Instagram. And yeah, obviously keep an eye out for any videos that Carl's going to bring out. They come as a surprise to me as they come as a surprise to you. So I can't give you any inside scoops.
You never know.
But yeah, that's about it from me. I know if you come expecting to hear about Full Gear and TNA.
Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, War Games took up too long. But yeah, I will see you sometime. I'm not going to say that it's going to be every Sunday because things change. So yeah, see you in a see you.
Peace.